Hello, everybody, and this is the Mass 33 here. I'm just I got a question, which was from a follower saying that the question was, are tegus meaner when you raise them outside than when you raise them inside? It's pretty windy here, so everything's being picked up here, and the answer is every tegu is different. Now, tegus that are raised inside and handle a lot more, raised inside, yeah, they tend to be nice. But I have really nice tegus that are raised outside. I guess it just boils down to the individual itself, but they definitely are different than wild caught tegus. Like tegus that are bred indoors, captive bred, they're always sweeter than thing. But now I'm not saying that wild caughts are mean. It just boils down to the individual itself. I've noticed that. Now, for instance, like this is Frieza, and he's very sweet. Was raised outside. He's 3 years old right now, and yeah, he's a sweetie. He's a good boy. He's not mean at all. Never showed me any indication at all that he's aggressive. He's not aggressive to his friend, who he lives with, which is a big Chacon male, King. And so, no, they're not. I think tegus are pretty smart, and the more you handle them and you take care of them, the nicer they are. It all boils down to how you set them up. That's what it boils down to. And that doesn't determine their attitude. It's just that a lot of times I've seen like where people get tegus at a show, not knowing the history of that animal, and then all of a sudden they take it home and they husband, they practice good husbandry. The setup, everything is perfect, and the animal becomes really aggressive for a while there, like very defensive, not aggressive, but I guess defensive, because it'll charge you if it feels its threat. And they'll say, man, I bought a captive bred tegu from a breeder at a show or on Craigslist or something, and he's mean or she's mean. You don't know the history of that animal. But most of the time, I can guarantee you, if it comes from a reputable breeder, they're not going to sell mean tegus unless that is a tegu that is being traded amongst the breeders themselves. That is a good breeder, but not necessarily a good quality pet. A pet is different than a breeder. What a breeder, certain breeders look for certain things. They just want them to breed. Necessarily, might not mean that they want them to have the greatest attitude towards them in general, but just to breed really well. There's tegus like that. Just, like you go and get a puppy or a kitten. You go for the one that's the sweetest. One that doesn't show any signs of being defensive or aggression. These are things you have to make the determination. Like this guy, like look, he got fed right now, and I'll go touch him. He's fine. He's been outside this whole time. If he was being defensive or aggressive, his posture would be breathing heavy real fast with his throat pumping back and forth like boom, 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 and tail whipping me, whoosh, and raising up like a cat. When a cat's threatened by something, tegus do the same. So yeah, so having the original question was whether or not the tegu is mean if it's bred outside or raised outside. No, that's not true. Again, proper husbandry. Make sure that if you do have them outside, that it's a state that is sunny. If you want to keep them outside in the spring and summer, even in Florida, sometimes we get the frost. I don't recommend, just leave them bare like that. If you could have maybe a tarp over them so they could avoid any of that. But they do good in the wild, man. So they're ultimate survivors. A lot of the stuff I'm saying is just he say, she say. But bottom line is, know the history of the tegu. I know a lot of people are out there adopting animals and stuff like that, like tegus, and trying to give them a chance and stuff. But you gotta really know. You gotta understand. If you're female or male that you get that's an adult is mean in the beginning, or not mean, defensive, that doesn't mean that he or she is not going to change. They're very intelligent. They will change. Just give them time. It may not happen overnight, But obviously keep them away from other cats and dogs and little kids and stuff, and other people who might not understand the tegu. But you give it time, and it'll, you can work it all out. It'll eventually become a very nice animal. It goes this, so being raised outside or inside doesn't really make the difference. This guy was strictly raised outside, where the big boy is strictly raised inside, but he has a more of like an antisocial problem. He don't mind if you touch him here and there, but he won't be aggressive. He won't bite you. He won't do none of that. He'll just run away. He doesn't, that's King, by the way. He's very sweet, very sweet. He'll come to you, give you some loving, but he doesn't like being bothered too much. Where this guy doesn't really care. So, and then the funny thing is that King was captive bred, everything raised inside his whole entire life. Where this guy was, in the beginning, was raised inside, just from the beginning, and then outside the rest. And this guy has, to me, a better attitude than King does. I don't know, overall, so, yeah. No, that's up to you guys. As long as you're practicing proper husbandry, then you're going to be fine. Okay? Alright, so I hope this answers your questions, guys. You guys have a nice day.